going on, Rockstars? Welcome back to Talia Talk. And in today's video, we are talking to one of my former coworkers and a friend of mine. His name is Nate, and he is a parent. And I wanted to get insight on his journey of being a parent with two small children and two small children that have special needs during Corona and his input on blended learning. So let's get into it. Okay, we are good to go. All right, so backstory first on how we know each other. We've known each other for a minute now, Phil.
Oh, yeah.
Like, ever.
What year was that? I'm trying to think. Because was I still in high school? I think that was 2009.
Okay, because I was in my first year of college, yes. Yes, me and Saul were in class together. For those of you who don't know, Nate and I worked at the Museum of Natural History a lifetime ago. Dopest tour guides out in these streets.
Most definitely.
Yeah, so that like I said, that was years ago that we met. It was a whole bunch of us, like a lot of us, and it was dope. I actually miss working at the museum a lot.
Yeah, I go there every now and then. And I spoke to Bridget actually maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
And everybody's grown and with children. You have two kids now.
Yeah, that are unfortunately.
How old are your Rugrats?
My son is just turned 4, and my daughter will be 3 in October.
Oh, they big kids. Oh, they're not babies.
Yeah, no, they're little people now.
They're tiny humans with opinions. All right, so guys, as most of you know, in New York, they are doing this blended learning, remote learning nonsense that hit or miss, may or may not fail. So I just wanted a parent's opinion on it. I'm probably going to get a few more, but like Nate had actually commented on something. I think either he posted or I posted about the whole remote learning thing. So what's your thoughts and your feelings on it with two young children?
Well, personally, my experience is also a little more, I say, isolated, because both of my kids are on the spectrum, and one was getting early intervention, the other was his first year in a CPSE school, which is, preschool for kids with special needs. And pretty much overnight, everything went from you're going to school every day to nothing. Now we got to teach these kids that can't or have difficulty being in a small setting, sitting down for 5 minutes. Let me put them in front of a screen and pray to God they pay attention.
So your daughter was getting 101 services?
Yeah, my daughter was getting OT, ABA, 20 hours, PT, and speech. And slowly but surely, as COVID got worse, those dwindled to nothing. And they've been nothing since.
So her therapist, they haven't done like Zoom calls or anything with her since?
They try. We've tried, but just it's me alone with the two of them, and it just doesn't work. I've even spoken to my son's teacher because they have a real good system going on with the whole Zoom thing, but it's just not practical, especially for me, especially because I'm not an educator. First,
is your daughter, is she verbal?
I guess both of my kids, I would say, have about 10 words or less. It's been better actually since COVID started. I'll say if there's one thing that's been the upside for all this, both of my kids, their vocabulary has increased. I guess just being home and being comfortable. But they don't really speak all that much. Okay. So they can't look in the camera like how I am, and we don't even know if they'll understand what's going on.
Wow. So what are your thoughts on just like the whole remote blended learning things? I as a preschool teacher, I have my thoughts on it, and everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I don't think I'm crazy on my thoughts. So as a parent, what is your thoughts on how they switched the system over literally in 6 months?
I think it's first impractical because you don't have, like, my household doesn't have internet. Yeah, they'll provide it, but you know, it just doesn't work. Kids, for generations, kids have been going to school. So out of nowhere, we're all home.
Suddenly.
And now we're all home to teach our kids. And, my kids aren't the only kids with difficulties. Even kids without difficulties, it's just, and parents, I know a lot of parents that I know personally are struggling from it. Some kids are succeeding from it, though. They like just being at home on their computer. Just from what I've seen and heard, it's a minority.
So since your kids are actually on the younger end of all of this, and like that's actually the age group I was recently working with, like the 4 and under category. Like, are they like in a public school setting, or were they in a daycare type of setting when schools were open?
My daughter was already with me at home 24/7 because all of her therapists came to the home.
Okay.
My son would go to school. He'd be on the bus by 7. He'd get home by 4. That was his routine. We finally got a routine for him down pat. And he was in a regular school setting, 2 paras, 1 teacher.
Okay.
He was, I think, one of 8. I think his IEP was 8 kids, yeah. And he was doing great. He loved it. He loved going to school. After a while, I had to like hide his book bag when everything got. I had to hide his book bag because he was like, "Let's go," waking me up at 6 in the morning. God.
Aww.
But that's also a big thing. I feel like not a lot of people are speaking for my kids' population in general. So like, all right, we'll do hybrid learning, or some kids will go to school some of the week, some won't, and I'm like, that's not going to work for me, A, because I'm trying to go back to work, and B, consistency, especially for kids on the spectrum and kids with special needs, consistency is key.
Yep, big time.
Consistency by cause of circumstance. We didn't have a choice.
Big time.
Implement should be practical, thought out, and everyone should at least, or a majority of us should be nodding our heads like that's a good idea. Majority of us are not nodding our heads.
Where you live in Brooklyn?
No, I'm in Queens.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I live in Queens. My son goes to school in Manhattan.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a commute in itself for a young kid.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I feel like I have friends that have children that also are special needs. So it's like, again, with the whole therapy thing, that's why I keep telling people I don't think the remote learning is going to benefit a lot of kids who are getting one-on-one attention, especially if the therapists are not coming to the house. Like, it would be one thing if a therapist was still physically coming to the household, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So like, so I'm assuming as well, you were laid off in the midst of all of this.
Yeah, once COVID started, because I'm in the health and wellness industry, I'm a personal trainer. Once gyms closed, I was out of business.
Okay. Okay.
It was over for me.
Okay, so what were you doing for your daughter while you were actually working? Like she had a nanny or something?
I would literally curtail my clients around her therapy.
Okay.
And I wouldn't work. That's
okay.
How we would go down. And now it's with both of them, because now my daughter's transitioning to CPSE. She's aging out of early intervention. In New York City, I'm hearing they're gonna give therapies to December, because that's when DOE says they'll figure something out. But I'm pretty sure everyone I hear that's an employee of you guys don't have much faith.
Well, I wasn't employed by DOE. I was working for a private daycare. But we pretty much kind of follow DOH and DOE guidelines in a sense. So it was like, once DOE shut down, we shut down as well. So like my thing is like, I'm oh, hi honey.
Yeah.
No interest.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Father, why am I in front of this camera? No, like, not interested. So yeah, so like, with the whole just early intervention, like I feel like when that happens for a child, it needs to be physically in person and it needs to be consistently going on. So are
Mm-hmm.
you one of the parents as well now? Are you considering sending your child back to school and do like the 2 days in-house and then the rest of the week they're home? Like, are you interested in that, or are you just like opting completely for them being home?
Me personally, it's either home or back to the way it used to be as it can be. Either or.
So you're not
Me
interested in the
personally,
blended?
not at all. I'm frankly not interested because are we going to keep at it 2 years from now?
Mm.
No.
And then I think it was on I feel it was something you posted and I commented on, and then you responded to my comment about, in a nutshell, like it's just about the curriculum. So how would you as a parent plan on teaching your kids when a lot of parents are not so versed in Common Core? Like I can't speak for teachers that are like parents that are teachers, because like we're kind of versed in it, but like as a parent who's not versed in what the Common Core curriculum is, how would you go about teaching your kids at home?
I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing now. I wing it based on what I've seen my daughter's therapist do, because I've been with her from, you know, I'm with them 100% of the time. So I've seen she's had, different ABAs, different speech therapists. So, I'll do whatever I've picked up. Pinterest helps, Google helps,
I tell
Instagram
parents
helps.
all the time, get a Pinterest account.
Yeah, to be honest, I made my kids a sensory board. Like that's like, me and my girlfriend were talking. We're going to Michael's and Lakeshore next week, just trying to figure things like what can we do to at least make it and get them stimulated to want to talk and do stuff more. But besides that, I'm gonna text her old therapist or call my mom, who was a teacher, and say, hey, what can I do? Or his teacher, my son's teacher, has been great, because if I have a question about something my son is doing, I'll give him a call. Hey, what can I do? But
Okay.
besides that, I'm trying to just figure things out as they go. Me personally.
Okay. See, well, and like I said, that I feel it's it's going to be a catch-22 either way. It's either this is how it's going to be from like the rest of the time, like our time here on Earth, or it's the kids are going to suffer. I mean, either way, I feel the kids are going to suffer, because
Mm-hmm.
not only just the children who were getting one-on-one help and the kids who are special needs, it's the children that use school as a safe haven, the kids
Oh yeah.
who are in
Mm-hmm.
abusive homes that need to be in school. So I feel like, in a nutshell, all the kids, if they're not in a fancy private school or they have access to tutors and nannies, those kids will be fine because they
Mm-hmm.
have it. But like
If
kids,
you had
especially
if you
our
had
color,
resources before, you have resources now. If you didn't have resources now, you definitely don't have any now.
and it
And
doesn't seem like the city is trying to really open up like the education services, like the education sector. We keep getting deducted, and I say we, even though I don't work for DOE, because that trickles down to the daycares at some point as well. So it's like we're suffering the most because our funding is being cut drastically, and then you want teachers like me. Like, I don't have my specialty is not in like special education or any of that. I feel now I'm going to have to get certified in it because of this, where okay, now the kids are in daycare and they don't have access to their therapist. I now have to become a therapist as well,
Mhm.
like that type of thing. So
and
I
what's
feel we're all suffering now.
yeah, and an untold thing, which I'm just now hearing. My daughter's newest. My daughter's been through about 3 PTs since this whole COVID thing started. The latest one, she said, even amongst her and her peers, because just like teachers, they would talk amongst themselves. A lot of people don't plan on going into either schools or homes for a long time, and you can't fault them. I honestly don't fault them. So it's like you said, it's a catch-22. Me, it's a catch-22 because I can't sit here and my cousin made a good point the other day. She was like, "What about a professor for a lecture hall? How many of those big groups of people? How many is that person going to see in that one day?" I don't blame him for wanting to do Zoom.
I mean, and like it's for me, I say because I'm doing my master's online, so like I guess you can consider that remote learning. But perfect example this week, I've been trying to get in contact with my professor for God knows how many days now, and I actually had to call the school and tell them she's not responding to anything that's being posted. She's not responding to emails, and I need help on something. So it's like if I'm struggling in a master's program, I can only imagine what a first grader is about to go through if they're struggling. And then even like the little girl in Florida the other day, where her mother's boyfriend came and shot the mother and killed her. That little girl saw that. If she would have been in school, she wouldn't have had any access to that.
Could have been spared. Yeah.
He wouldn't have had access to see that.
And I wonder what daycares are going to look like. Like when all is said and done, let's say we get, because you have places like I think either New Zealand or Australia. I read an article recently that they have some sense of normalcy now, and I'm like, all right, let's say we get, let's say New York City especially, since we're a quote unquote hotbed of this. Let's say we get to that point a year or two from now. You're gonna have some people that's permanently scarred from this.
I mean, I think if your kids are like 5 and under, maybe, I don't think they're really going to remember this. Like, I mean, I know most of us, we have very vague memories from like being 4 and 5. But, like, for the most part, I don't think they're really going to remember too much of this. But honestly, I haven't received a call back from work. The daycare I was working at is open. She did call back teachers. I was one of the people that didn't get a call back for whatever reason.
Really? Okay.
Another story for another day. Another story for another day.
I didn't know some daycares were opening. I'm surprised because that's what.
They opened a few places have opened back. I think they were trying to open back up 3. I think the article said 3,000 places, but they weren't doing it all in one shot. So what they did start to do, like they had to cut the ratios at certain places because the capacity was only put at a certain amount. So they had to cut it. The teachers have to wear a mask. I guess if like you're working with the infants and toddlers, you have to wear scrubs and stuff because you're on the floor with them.
Oh yeah.
The kids can't share like crayons. Like I did a video on it too, like just how the social distancing is going to possibly look for some places. I haven't heard any complaints about the place I was working at. Like, I guess it's working for them because they don't have that many kids. But it's like, what's going to happen when you're back at your actual working capacity?
Yeah,
these parents have to go back to work.
Normalcy. When people like, because you're gonna have some people that are gonna be like, oh, still 6 feet, and then you have some people be like, no, like we're already seeing it now. Some people are like, forget the mask.
I mean, look, again, like and this is not the video for this. Like, I have my thoughts on the whole Corona gimmick. Like, I have my thoughts and my opinions on it, but it's just I don't like the fact that the kids are suffering now. And a lot of people feel like these kids are now being quote unquote used as guinea pigs to see what this second wave is possibly going to be. That's why I'm asking, like, I'm curious to know, like, are you sending your kids back to school if possible? Another thing, let me not say, when this vaccine happens,
no,
would you be
I'm
a
not
parent?
giving it to my kids.
He didn't even let me finish the question. He said, nah, it ain't happening.
I just saw people talking about it's going to be available as of January. That's good. It could be available all at once. I already have to bend with the flu shot. I ain't got no choice with that. I'm not bending no more. I already have to bend with the flu shot, which I'm not happy about.
Yeah, I didn't know like they made that a thing where like if your child I think is under a certain like they're under a certain age or if they're in public school, they have to get a flu shot. I'm like, that's crazy. Oh, what happened? What happened?
My son was not gonna.
All right,
I think we had a recording.
Okay, I think we're good. So yes, I didn't know that was a thing until I think not the daycare I just left, the daycare prior to that, they were hanging up notices in the building saying, oh, the kids have to have flu shots. And I'm like, when did that become a mandatory thing? Like, I've never had a flu shot. I'm not interested in getting a flu shot. I think I've had the flu once or twice in my life, and all I had to do was sleep it off for a few days and hydrate myself. But
they make you get it. Before my son even went to CPSE, when I first moved to New York, I sent him to a place called All My Children Daycare. Don't send your kids there. Shout out to them. And they weren't gonna let my kids go there without a flu shot at all. And they were adamant. They was like, well, you can not do it, but there's no daycare in New York City that will let you get no flu shot.
Yeah, even if it's private too, they will not. And I'm like, I get it, but I don't, because if I'm doing everything as a parent to ensure that my child is healthy, why would I want to inject them with something that, one, it mutates and it's not the actual strand of the flu that's out? And if the flu vaccine was so great, you wouldn't need it every year if that's the case. Like, that's where I didn't understand the purpose of it, but I just like the fact they want to keep just like doping these kids up with everything under the sun now. So, hi! And we're off.
And they're more intrigued when it's someone they don't know. When it's someone they know, they definitely don't come.
Of course, that's how all the kids are. That's how they all are.
That peak was the most that I'd get. The most that someone would get. But I honestly rather New York City. I don't care where everyone else does. I don't care about New York City right now. I really rather them do nothing than a half-baked, cooped-up idea, which is really what we're getting right now. It's not well thought out. And
well, I think when they initially first shut down schools, it wasn't fully thought out. Like, they were like, okay, we're only going to shut down for 2 weeks. That 2 weeks turned into 2 months real quick, and then here we are 6 months later, and we don't know what's going to happen. And also, what I'm not like really too keen on is that, how is this supposed to go about? Like, if the kids are not learning and they're just logging in, are you just passing them for the sake of logging in? If that's the case, I am very terrified for this next generation, because how is that benefiting them, just passing them?
Listen, I just got a progress report from my son's occupational therapist today. I don't know why, because I ain't speak to her in God knows how long. But hey, listen, as long as whenever things go back to normal, my kids can get their services the way they at least somewhat were before, that's all I hope for. But before that's even possible, I'd rather them do nothing. For my kids' population, for high schoolers, the hybrid thing might work for them. But then again, you got your kids that have ADD, don't want to do it. Like you said, you got kids that it was their safe haven, especially you and I both know, being in New York City at that age, it can really be your safe haven. But that's a video for a different day. Yeah, New York City is such a, you can't just make one decision, because it affects every community at every age level in every different way. But it looks like Bill de Blasio and company is gonna, we're gonna just roll with the punches and do what we want, or whatever we, bake this week.
Right. It's really it's legit a week by week thing, I think, at this point. Like, yeah. they don't know.
And that's how at the end of it, I feel like until they know and are confident and spit it like it's a Bible verse, I'm not buying it. Not buying it.
I don't even want it if it sounds like a Bible verse at this point either. I don't even want it if it sounds like that. Then that means it's too damn good to be true. So.
But they have some confidence. I just feel like they have confidence in the half-baked idea they got now. I don't feel like there's any confidence in it whatsoever. Everyone I speak to, between EI providers, coordinators, parent coordinators, home health services, social workers, they're all like, listen, we don't know. They don't know. We can't, don't even be worried.
And that's the sad part, because a lot of parents think we're in the loop, and we're not. We're just as clueless and dumbfounded as parents are right now. It's like we're the bottom of that chain of command. Like, we don't know what's happening, and most teachers are just hoping that they have a job. I know a lot of teachers are saying that they're retiring, and it's trippy that to think at 30 I might have to write a will, because I don't know if I'm going to, like, granted, like I said, I have my thoughts on it. I'm not too sold on this whole corona thing, but it's just like, damn, I really might have to write a will if I go back to work and God forbid something really does happen to me at this point. So
it's a genuine fear that you have to think of.
And it's like, it's, to me, it's not necessarily the virus I'm scared of. I'm scared of the agenda behind it. That's what scares me. Like, everybody's saying, oh, I'm saying this fake. I'm like, I've never once said corona was fake. That never came out my mouth. I just feel it's more to it than what's being led on, and now our kids are going to suffer for this, like that type of thing.
I agree with that 100%. I agree with that, because and the thing is too, you'll have. I feel like the next thing I've never seen so much hand sanitizer being sold. Like
at one point they were telling us, I know back in our day, they would tell us, don't use so much hand sanitizer because it kills the good germs and the good bacteria on your hands. Now you're telling me every 5 seconds to use hand sanitizer. You're going to tell me when the typical 3-year-old will just sneeze and not cover their nose. Like, it's just a mess. It's a mess. I don't know at this point, but I'm just,
people. Were you supposed to stay 6 feet away from each other consistently?
I was doing that before social distancing became cool. So.
But it's just, in my mind, and this is why you see a mass exodus of people leaving New York City. I already put it in my mind. I don't live in Charlotte, North Carolina anymore, where I can keep away from people. I can't live in New York City. Like, it's not going to be practical. I don't think it's practical for parents to be like, all right, let's send the kids to school, but they're all going to be 6 feet. They're all going to have masks. Let's put them in these cubbies, these bubbles. No.
When our classrooms aren't even that big.
Yeah, like, come on. Like, who you fooling? I saw a picture of a high school in Georgia where they were jam-packed like it was the good old days. That's outrageous. You know, that
it's the reality, especially if you're in a city, like if you're in a densely populated city, that's where it's an issue. It's one thing, like if you're like in, Bubblefuck, Iowa,
Georgia, I feel like y'all could come up with an easier plan than New York City. You say hi, King? King, you want to say hi?
Hi.
Okay.
No, not interested.
With your sister. I think it's getting around dinner time. That's why.
Oh, we're hungry. I ain't mad at them. I feel that. I feel all that energy. I feel all that energy. Well, go feed the children. I thank you so much. I know we were trying to do this last week, but I got to get my life together. But I thank you so much. And this will probably be up either Monday or Wednesday.
All right, yes, send me the link. I will share it, everything.
And I guess when life gets back to normal, we need to do some type of museum reunion. I know Nick be hosting them, but I'm like, I don't know half the people he'd be invited. I'm like, we need old.
Yeah, I think
we need the old squad back. So we got to figure something out. Go feed the Rugrats. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. I will see you later.
Stay well. Thanks, hon.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.